Okay, if you are in 7 Excel, we are working from the Advanced 2 textbook. If you are in Math 8, we are working from the Course 3 textbook. We are doing lesson 10.4, 0 and negative exponents. And they can be found on pages 430 and 431. Okay, so 4 to the 0 power equals 1. Any number except 0 to the 0 power equals 1. So any number except 0 to the 0 power is equal to 1. So if it's got a 0 exponent, it is equal to 1. And then yesterday we talked about how numbers in the denominator with an exponent, when you bring them up into the numerator, that exponent is negative, right? Today we're kind of doing the opposite. Today we have a number with a negative exponent. And when we have a number with a negative exponent, it belongs in the denominator. So a number with a negative exponent, belongs in the denominator. So that right there is the nuts and bolts of today's lesson. So we're just going to go through and do a bunch of examples. Okay. Okay, so we have 3 to the negative 4th power. Well, since I have a number with a negative exponent, this number belongs in the denominator. Only we're not done, because this means 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. So when you've got a number with a negative exponent, it belongs in the denominator. And then you're going to work it out. Okay. And then the book likes to do stuff like this. Negative 8.5 to the negative 4th power times negative 8.5 to the positive 4th power. Now we did this a couple of days ago. We are multiplying and we have the same base. Negative 8.5 and negative 8.5. My base is the same. It's a multiplication problem. So I am going to add my exponents. I'm going to add the exponents. Well, negative 8.5, that should be a 5. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. And anything to the 0 power is 1. Okay, let's do another one. 2 to the 6th power divided by 2 to the 8th power. This is what we did yesterday. We know that when we have the same base, we're dividing by the same base. that we subtract this exponent in the denominator. So it's 6 minus 8. So I now have 2 to the negative 2. Because this is negative 2, that means it belongs in the denominator, which gives me 2 times 2, which is 1 over 4. Okay, let's do another example. We have 1 over 5 to the 7th power times 1 divided by 5 to the negative 4 power. Okay, this is kind of like yesterday. 1 times 1 is 1. Here, I'm multiplying and my base is the same. Since I'm multiplying and my base is the same, I'm going to add my exponents. Okay, so this gives me 1, 5 to the 3rd power. 7 plus negative 4 is 5 to the 3rd power. Okay, so 1, 5 times 5 times 5 is 1 over 125. Okay, let's do another example. 4 to the 5th power times 4 to the negative 3rd power all over 4 to the 2nd power. Okay, just like yesterday, I'm going to take care of the multiplication first. And since my base is the same, I'm going to add these together. So 4, I'm going to add my exponents together, 5 plus negative 3 over 4 squared. So 5 plus negative 3 is 2 divided by 4 over 2. Now, right here, I know that when my numerator is exactly the same as my denominator, I know that this is equal to 1, because this is going to be 16 divided by 16, and 16 divided by 16 is equal to 1. But if you don't see that right away, it's okay, because we can do what we did yesterday. My base is the same. I'm dividing, and my base is the same. So I'm going to subtract my exponents. So I've got positive 2 minus 2, which gives me 4 to the 0. And any number with a 0 exponent is equal to 1. So either way, you get 1. If you recognize that when you're dividing the numerator by the exact same thing, when your denominator is exactly the same as your numerator, it's going to be 1, because this is 16 divided by 16, which is 1. If you see that, that's great. If not, don't worry about it. Do what you know. Yesterday, we learned that when we divide the same base, we subtract that exponent that's in the denominator. Well, 2 minus 2 is 0, and any number with a power of 0 is equal to 1. Okay, so you get 1 either way. Okay, I've got a couple more examples. Got a couple more. So let's take a look at this one. Negative 5 times x to the 0 power. Negative 5 times x to the 0 power. Okay, so we have negative 5 times anything to the 0 power is 1. So negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. Okay, let's do a couple more. 9 times y to the negative 3 divided by y to the 5th. Okay, so this is what we did yesterday, division, right here. My base is the same, and I'm dividing. So I'm going to subtract my exponent. So I have 9 times y to the negative 3 minus 5. So this is 9 times y to the negative 8. Now, because my exponent here is negative, you see that? It needs to be in the denominator. There we go. Okay. I've got 2 more to do with you. Or maybe 3 more. Okay, we've got 8 times x to the negative 2. 8 times x to the negative 2. So just like we saw earlier, since this is negative, 8 to the negative 2nd, this is negative, it belongs in the denominator. There we go. Okay, b to the 0 power times b to the negative 10. So let's take a look. Anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. So 1 times b to the negative 10. Now, since this is a negative exponent, it belongs in the denominator. And our last example, x to the 6th power divided by 15 times x to the 9th power. So I'm going to take what we learned yesterday. This is division of the same base. I've got the same base and I'm dividing. So I'm going to subtract those exponents. So this is x to the 6th minus 9 over 15, which gives me x to the negative 3 over 15. Since this is a negative exponent, it belongs in the denominator. So I have 1 over 15 times x to the 3rd. So that's what we're doing today. This is everything that we are doing today. Does anybody have any questions?